What is up, guys, and welcome back once again to the reviews. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to be checking out I've already done an overview of this case. This is the Sahara Gaming P480. Today it's going to be a build and review of this case, so I'll talk about the thermal performance and then obviously what I like and what I dislike about this case, and obviously I'll show you some B-roll. So first things first, I'll show you the B-roll of what it looks like once it's built in. It looks really nice. You can probably see from here it looks quite good. And then we'll get into some thermal results and then obviously my good and bad parts of this case. As you can probably see from, well, you might be able to have noticed, I've got my Sahara Gaming hoodie on, just especially for the occasion. So thank you, Sahara, for sending this over. I quite like it, it's really comfortable. So as you can see from the B-roll, this case looks absolutely fantastic when it's built in, with plenty of RGB fans in there. It looks absolutely lovely. So top marks to that for Sahara for making such a nice looking case. It is sort of similar to a Lian Li 11 dynamic in terms of the design, which a lot of case manufacturers are doing at the moment, so you can't blame them. They sell well, and yeah, it looks really good. But it's a little bit different. It's a little bit longer, probably a bit shorter, and can fit absolutely tons of fans in it, across the bottom, up the side, across the top and at the back. Plenty of fans can go in there, and obviously it's really, really long. First of all, the specifications of this system: it's a 5900X AMD Ryzen 9. It's on a B550-E gaming board from Asus, the ROG Strix. There's 32 gigabytes of DDR4 Team Group memory in this, RGB Delta R memory in this build, various SSDs and things like that, and then we're using an RTX 3080 Founders Edition for this build for the testing as well. So anyway, let's get into the thermal results, and then we'll talk a bit more about the case and what I like and what I dislike about this. So in terms of thermal results, we've done some testing. We've done Cinebench and we've done superposition, so I can test CPU temperatures and GPU temperatures. Idle temperatures are pretty much the same across the board, around between 30 and 35 degrees for all these tests that I ran, so I won't worry about those too much, and the temperature in this room was kept roughly around the same, around 18.5 degrees throughout all these testing as well, so that doesn't have an impact as well. So first of all, we did a closed test with all the panels on, we did an open test, and then we did a test with the mesh panel on the front instead of the glass to see if that made any difference. So let's quickly talk about the CPU performance. So on the closed system, we got a maximum of 73 degrees, which is not bad at all. Running Cinebench for 5 minutes, Cinebench R23 multi-core. When we put the mesh panel on, we dropped that down to 72, so a degree of difference, not a lot at all. And then when we opened the case up completely, we got it down to 70 degrees. So we dropped 3 degrees in total from opening the panels up and letting more airflow in. Now, this isn't set up as best as it could be. The side fans are actually set up as exhaust, but this is basically because I thought it looked the best. So you may get a little bit of drop in temperature if you switch them around. However, the other side of those is your power supply and your cables, so there won't be a great deal of air coming in from that. So that's why I wasn't too fussed about swapping these around for testing. So in terms of the actual thermal results, it actually performed really well. 3 degrees isn't a lot at all to have your panels on and having it looking nice. 2 degrees if it's got mesh panel on it, so if you want a bit of airflow. However, I will mention that if you use the bracket at the front where you can put the fans at the front of the case rather than at the side, then you will probably definitely get better airflow from the mesh panel if you're using that. So bear that in mind. Then we went on to GPU results. I used Unison Superposition 1080p Extreme to really hammer the GPU as much as I could, and the results are exactly the same across the board. 60 degrees across the board was the maximum temperature we got on the GPU. It's not overclocked or anything like that. I just let it do its thing, and we've got 60 degrees, and that is, in my eyes, pretty much because the fans are sitting directly below, the bottom fans sit directly below the GPU. I've got two 140s down there, so I've got a lot of airflow straight to the GPU. So you're not going to see much difference with that, because that's where it's getting all its airflow from. So no matter whether you take the panels off or leave them on or change the panel for a mesh, it's still going to pretty much get the same airflow coming through it. So all in all, thermal results very good, performs really well. Obviously you can get more fans in this. I'm just putting the fans that Sahara were kind enough to send over to me, so I use their fans that they sent. So I've got two 140s at the bottom, two 140s at the side, a 140 at the back, and then three 120s on my AIO, which is a Bits Power Cyclops 360 at the top. And obviously, yeah, it looks really, really nice. So first of all, the things I like the fact that you can get a lot of fans in it. I like the fact you can change the front out for a mesh panel. The reversible slots at the back for the PCIe, so you can put vertical mounted GPU in this without buying any brackets. You can literally just flip it and stick them straight in. And I do like the separate sort of PSU compartment, and there is quite a lot of room back there for cable management behind the motherboard tray. And then lastly, the amount of SSDs, 2.5-inch SSDs. I know not a lot of people use them these days, but there is a lot of expansion there for 2.5-inch SSDs as well, which is nice to see. You can get up to 5 in this case, and therefore that's really, really good. Now, I need to go into a few things that I don't really like about this case. There's not a lot on, they're not terrible things, but there are things that need to be mentioned. The fans that go on the side, if you do put those on, make sure you put them on before you put your PSU in, because they're an absolute pain to get to once your power supply is in. The bottom one you can't get to at all, so I literally had to, I'd already built it all, I had to remove the whole power supply just to get the screws in and to put the side ones on. So that's another point to mention, but obviously that's kind of more of a planning thing. It's not really their fault, or how else are they going to be able to put fans on there. Coming on from that, the PSU compartment, although I really, really like it, it is quite tight when you're using a lot of cables. So if you've got, obviously you've got SATAs in for your 2.5-inch SSDs, which I have, then if you've got all your cables for everything else, it is quite tight in there. And so you have to kind of get a big bunch of cables stuck in there, as well as your front panel USBs and things like that all need to be in there and routed through there. Yes, you can run them out into the bit behind the motherboard tray, but that makes it quite awkward, because then you're going to have to snake the cable back. But obviously if you've got your own cables that are the right length, then it'd be better. So just bear that in mind. If you want to do really nice cable management in this, we've got to be a bit clever about it. I ended up just pretty much compacting them all into that section, and just managing to get the door shut. Coming on further to the cable management sort of side, if you are going to use an E80X board in this, then you are going to lose pretty much all the grommets from the inside of the case to pass your cables through. You're going to have one on the side of the PSU shroud, so that could make life pretty difficult, or you'll have the top ones as well, but in terms of side ones, you're going to only have one. And also the slot underneath the motherboard to pass cables through to the bottom of your motherboard is really small once the motherboard's installed. If it's an ATX board, obviously. If it's a smaller board, you'll be fine, but an ATX board, it's really tight to get them in down there. So again, bear that in mind, and you could have just made them a little bit bigger and it would have solved a lot of problems. Lastly, my last point that I don't really like about this is the pass-through cable to your power supply, because there's a power supply point plug-in on the back. It literally passes the cable from the back to the front, and that's where your power supply sits. It is just a standard sort of straight plug. I think they should basically put a 90-degree power plug on that, because it is quite tight. Once you put the PSU in the bottom, it is quite tight to get that power supply plug into the bottom of your power supply. And then obviously make sure you turn it on before you put everything in, otherwise you won't get into it. So that's pretty much it. It is a nice case. It is relatively easy to build in. There's a few things that you need to sort of plan prior to this, and cable management is possible for sure, but there is again some prior planning that you need to do to be able to get this right and how you like it. So that's it, guys. I hope you liked this video. I hope it was interesting and gave you some insight into this case and whether you would like to buy this or not. It is around £90 for this case. You don't get any fans included, but it is a nice case, and £90 isn't bad for a premium feeling case and a good rival to the Lian Li 011 Dynamic. So thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did like it, then please don't forget to give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't already, and leave me any comments in the comment section below. If you didn't like it, give it a dislike. And again, if you want to let me know why, then please leave a comment in the comment section and I'll get back to you. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.